Good evening, friends, and thank you for tuning in to tonight's debut broadcast of Citizen First News. Where mainstream media often creates the narrative, we believe it's up to the citizens to dig, research, and find the truth. And tonight, we're spilling the tea. I'm your host, Richard Thomas. This weekend was a vibrant moment for Trump supporters nationwide, as thousands upon thousands of them gathered and descended upon Washington, D.C. in support of President Trump, as well as to express concern and an outcry over what is thought to be widespread election fraud. Take a look at the footage.
Where are you all from?
Demanding a legitimate election. Right? As I watch my children, the mothers.
And what would be a Trump rally if it were not for the paid opposition of Antifa and some Black Lives Matters protesters? Take a look at some of the disgusting footage that we were able to get a hold of.
Fireworks, 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 fireworks! Yeah, yeah! Back up! Back up! Back up!
Wow. I'm wondering the same thing you are sitting there watching this footage as we have in times past over the past 12 months about these George Soros employees, these agitators that burn, they loot, and they pillage, and they go into the guise of Antifa as well as Black Lives Matters, and aren't peaceful protesters, but seek to cause harm and violence and fear into the hearts of people that support this president. It's a form of war. And unfortunately for them, the Proud Boys, who the mainstream media labeled as a white supremacist group, which is completely incorrect, took to the streets in D.C. on Saturday and defended the remaining people on those streets until Mayor Bowser decided to do something about it and send out the PD. This past week during the election, once it was decided by the mainstream media that Joe Biden had collected enough electoral votes, Joe and Kamala Harris decided to take to the stage to speak to their supporters on national networks. In this communication, he spoke of unity. He spoke of bringing together the Republican and Democratic Party, and then offered a scripture.
Now, let's give each other a chance. It's time to put away the harsh rhetoric, lower the temperature, see each other again, listen to each other again. And to make progress, we have to stop treating our opponents as our enemies. They are not our enemies. They are Americans. They're Americans. The Bible tells us to everything there is a season, a time to build, a time to reap and a time to sow, and a time to heal. This is the time to heal in America.
He was met with so much opposition on social media, specifically from the Republican Party, and Megyn Kelly took the lead with a searing rebuke. She said, "No, Joe, half of the country has been demonized as awful for 4 years, just for supporting their president, who was falsely accused of Russian collaboration, wrongfully impeached, and attacked relentlessly by the left and the dishonest media. And now you say let's heal? Now you call for unity? Well, good luck." Joe, I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of half of the country and saying, I don't think it's going to work in your favor. As this election continues on, our eyes now focus on the state of Georgia, where even tonight, the recount and audit is still underway to find out who will win the 16 electoral votes. Will it be President Donald Trump that carried a strong lead on election night, or will it be political candidate Joe Biden? Much of the controversy surrounds the halting of the ballot counting late into the evening on election night in several key states that are either going into a recount or are headed to court. Millions of Americans tonight have raised many questions as to why the counting stopped in states where Trump had the obvious lead, only to flip to a Biden victory in the hours and days following. Here in Georgia, it was reported on election night that there was a water main break in or near the building where the ballots were being counted. I'm not sure if there's any evidence for that because research shows that there was no work order put into the city for a water main break. And then reports came out that poll watchers were told to leave at a certain time after that announcement was made, only to find out that the ballot count continued on in private. This past week, GOP Rep. Doug Collins was selected to preside over the recount and rode into Georgia with the cavalry of GOP volunteers to assist Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to conduct the recount. Collins, along with the GOP chairman, expressed their grave concern over the recount, seeing that the auditors were not allowing but one person per 10 people counting. Normally it's 1 per 1 or 1 per 2, so that signatures can be verified and addresses can be verified. Unfortunately, since there were not and are not matching signatures, with the mail-in ballots matching it to the envelopes, it quickly threw up a red flag that, of course, like clockwork, triggered our president, who then went to Twitter and tweeted out this tweet. Georgia Secretary of State, a so-called Republican rhino, which means Republican in name only, won't let the people checking the ballots see the signatures for fraud. Why? Without this, the whole process is very unfair and close to meaningless. Everyone knows that we won the state. Where is Brian Kemp? He then went on to say in another tweet, "The consent decree signed by Georgia State Secretary with the approval of Governor Brian Kemp at the urging of Stacey Abrams makes it impossible to check and match signatures on ballots and envelopes, etc. They knew they were going to cheat. We must expose the real signatures. Now, checking signatures is a normal part of the process when you have an audit during a federal or a state election. And that should also include verifying the addresses, comparing them carefully to the rosters that we have. Unfortunately, in most states, those rosters haven't been fixed in years, which goes to show you that not only is the mail-in ballots an open doorway for fraud because people were receiving them who no longer lived there, but has caused so much havoc on this 2020 election. Unfortunately, I don't think that this recount will be fruitful for Donald Trump. However, there is another spotlight tonight that we want to bring that's shining brightly on this Georgia recount. And that starts with the Dominion software.
Interesting was I assumed coming into it that the big manufacturers, companies like ES&S and Dominion, had provided these machines to the hackers to, field test them. But no, it turns out there's an extremely hostile relationship there, and that ES&S and Dominion and other companies have basically said we don't want to participate, and really have been quite aggressive in saying we don't want to be part of this. So the organizers were reduced to finding these machines on eBay, which right there is pretty terrifying because it turns out that anybody can buy some of the most common machines in use on eBay. What was really alarming was when you see these hackers, and these are people who've never seen these machines before, have had no practice on them for the most part, come in and engage them, they immediately get into the guts of them. Beyond that, we were seeing Dominion's ImageCast system. It's a line of tabulators that paper ballots are fed into. That had its guts all over the room. It was not clear to us whether this was the most recent version of the ImageCast hardware, but it's important to know that Georgia just spent over is about to spend over $100 million on a contract with Dominion to provide ImageCast hardware to the state in time for the next primaries and for the 2020 election. And yet here these kids were who had opened it up. They said, look, you can pop the front off of it, and here's a port you can get into right here. That's easy. All kinds of stuff that you could certainly do within 6 minutes behind a curtain, much less if you had extra time because any of these were connected to the web, as we discovered a couple of days before. So many.
Dominion software is a highly developed tabulating software that works in congruency with a machine to count ballots on election night and has been used for the past few years in federal and state election. In 2020, currently 29 states use Dominion software, including the 7 battleground states that we watched on election night moved the votes from one side to the other. These states include battleground states of Arizona, Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Georgia. And isn't it funny that these are the exact states that Trump was leading in on election night up until 3 a.m. in the morning? Take a look at these percentages. The first red flag was when it was reported in the Atrium County in Michigan, a so-called glitch in the Dominion software when it was counting that took 6,000 votes from Trump and gave them to Biden. Here, take a look at this press conference.
If all this wasn't enough, in Antrim County, ballots were counted for Democrats that were meant for Republicans, causing a 6,000 vote swing against our candidates. The county clerk came forward and said tabulating software glitched and caused a miscalculation of the votes. Since then, we have now discovered that 47 counties use this same software in the same capacity. Antrim County had to hand count all of the ballots, and these counties that use this software need to closely examine their results for similar discrepancies. The people of Michigan deserve a transparent and open process.
A dive into the company and history of the Dominion software is best shown by investigative journalist and author of the book Heartbeat Away, Janet Porter. Let's take a look at what she uncovered.
those who have witnessed the attempts to steal this election continue to report it, the heart of the widespread systematic voting fraud is with the electronic voting machines, owned by this globalist. As I wrote about in A Heartbeat Away, the man who controls the voting machines is linked to leftist billionaire George Soros. He's chairman of his board. A key executive of the company is Nancy Pelosi's former chief of staff. A major shareholder, Dianne Feinstein's husband, making Dominion voting machines heavily promoted by the Clinton Foundation. Well, at least they're all working together. Oh, it's also the same company credited with the last-minute glitch, where all the votes suddenly went to Venezuelan dictator Hugo Chavez. Wow, they really are all working together. Here's a fun fact. Guess what happens when you type in Antifa.com? Yep, it takes you right to the Biden campaign. Wow, they really are all working together. These Democrat Dominion machines just happen to be the ones used in 28 key states, including Arizona, Michigan, Nevada, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. And these machines come with some customized features, glitches, that can both add huge blocks of votes to the Democrat, while the Republican gets none, and flip votes from the Republican to the Democrat. Here's proof, beginning with Kentucky, where 560 votes were flipped from Republican Matt Bevin to the Democrat.
And so here we are before the update, and now I'm going to start walking you forward. Watch the gold. Here comes the update from Clarity. Boom. There it is. Let's look at Matt Bevin. He now has 661, 675. But look down below. He did have 662, 235. At the exact same second that Andy Beshear has gone up 560 votes, Matt Bevin has gone down 560 votes.
You just saw the Democrat Dominion machines flip votes from one candidate to another. But take a look at what they did in Michigan. In this round of updates, 138,339 Biden votes were added without a single person in the state of Michigan voting for Trump. Statistically impossible. It's like flipping a coin 138,339 times in a row and getting heads every single time. The Democrats say, we're the crazy ones for questioning it. Well, let's find out. Remember, I've got to get heads 138,339 times in a row. Heads. Off to a good start. Heads. Maybe the Democrats are onto something. Let's check it out. Oh, tails. I'll keep trying. Well, now another vote swap glitch has been discovered in Wisconsin, bringing back 19,500 votes to President Trump, removing Biden's lead. Here's another vote swap glitch caught on camera in Pennsylvania. 19,958 votes switched from President Trump to Joe Biden in 1 minute. Watch in real time President Trump's totals go down. Here's the first time we see Pennsylvania on the screen with Trump at 1,690,000.
I did Joe Biden's math to get him up. Donald Trump's leading here. He's leading here.
In a second, we'll see Pennsylvania back up on the screen at 1,670,000.
These normally would be Trump states.
As election results are tallied, the totals naturally go up, unless you're using a Democrat Dominion voting machine.
If it plays out in a traditional map, that's where we're going to be. That's where we'll be as we go to the West Coast, somewhere in that ballpark. It's not an exact science.
And there it is. Nearly 20,000 votes stolen from President Trump right in front of our eyes. Here it is, side by side, with evidence of the nearly 20,000 Trump votes removed. Then there was another voting machine glitch in Georgia. I could go on, but you get the idea. Former NSA intelligence officer Bill Binney had this to say about the so-called voting machine glitch.
Things that they're calling glitches in software that are randomly changing only certain votes, they're not glitches at all. Those are programmed into the software. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. If there's a problem in software, we call those bugs. If the bug is in the software, it does everything consistently with everything, not just selectively picking things. If only certain things are selected, picked, and changed, That's not a bug. That's designed in the software. That's intentional.
No, the Democrat Dominion machines don't have a glitch. It's a tried and true standard feature about to be exposed and eliminated. Just another way that President Trump is keeping his promise to drain the swamp. And when he's through, well, I'll let the president tell you.
And when I'm reelected, the best is yet to come.
This is the moment where we rise up and take our country back. And Trump's second term, it's going to be epic.
Wow, that was a lot of information. But I'll leave you with this thought tonight, this question. We already know that the Democrats are involved up to their ears in this election heist, but how many more Republicans are playing ball with the Democrats, as well as these foreign entities, these interfering entities in our election, to secure their own political position and continue their career? Tonight's sources have been released with documents tying Georgia's own Governor Brian Kemp, as well as the Georgia Secretary of State and other state officials, in taking payouts in the millions of dollars to bring Dominion software to Georgia to be used for the federal election in 2020. Trump's lawyer Sidney Powell is making these accusations on Fox News. Let's take a look at this clip.
Welcome back. We are back with attorney Sidney Powell, who's part of President Trump's legal team. Sidney, before we went to the break, we talked about, you said that there may have been kickbacks to some people who accepted the Dominion software. Tell me what you mean.
Well, I mean, we are collecting evidence now from various whistleblowers that are aware of substantial sums of money being given to family members of state officials who bought this software. I mean, we're talking about $100 million packages for new voting machines suddenly in multiple states, and benefits ranging from financial benefits for family members to sort of what I would call election insurance. Because they know that they can win the election if they are using that software. It's really an insidious, corrupt system, and I can't tell you how livid I am with our government for not paying attention to complaints even brought by Democrats, Carolyn Maloney, Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, over the last several years in written letters with expert reports and some documentation of how corrupt this software is, and nobody in our government has paid any attention to it, which makes me wonder how much the CIA has used it for its own benefit in different places, and why Gina Haspel is still there in the CIA is beyond my comprehension. She should be fired immediately.
Well, in the words of Donald Trump, this election is far from over, and I have a feeling it's going to be a bumpy winter. Thank you so much for watching this broadcast. Listen, help us share this video. We're here because of you. We want to help you uncover the truth that the mainstream media will cover up. You can support us by visiting our website, which is located in the description above or on the screen below, www.citizenfirstnews.com. There, you can subscribe to our newsletter for all of our newsworthy updates while we're building the website, and you can visit our Facebook page and like it. Now, we'll be on other platforms in the weeks to come so that we have a backup plan in case Facebook decides to aggressively censor free speech. But until then, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.